All right, everybody, welcome back. Sam's Army Match Week 37. We got a lot to talk about. We're going to start with the Premier League, where we will discuss a big win for VARsenal. Tell giveth and taketh away, and Liverpool's boiling point, question mark. Halftime will be a Clone Wars related weekly what if. Around the world, we got an extra spicy minute with the man himself, and then stoppage time with Ivan Toney's best bets. And everybody's favorite segment, GOAWs. Now, time to welcome this week's panel of beauties, starting with none other than Tyler Terrans, who has been gone for a little while on the other side, or sort of on the other side of the globe. Give us the highlights and the lowlights of the trip.
Low light started out with a sinus infection basically as soon as I landed. So first couple of days on the time switch as well were a little rough, but didn't stop me from having anywhere between 3 to 7 sangrias every single day.
This is all in Barcelona, by the way?
All Barcelona.
Okay.
Yeah, we were in Barcelona the whole week. Highlight, I'm much more of a I want to do what the people do and get lost in a neighborhood in a little square and sit down and have an espresso or a couple of drinks. And my wife loves to go see the touristy stuff, bring a Rick Steves book, learn things about the city, and do it the right way. So we had a really good mix, and we would do one of her activities in the morning, early afternoon, and then we'd walk around and walk 8 to 10 miles. But I played in a street soccer game on the beach, which was probably almost tore my ACL first play in, but it was worth it. It was worth it.
And the fact you had to leave 2 days before an El Clasico must have been kind of bittersweet.
One day before, but when your wife is pregnant for the first time and her mom is waiting and her dad was going to make Mother's Day brunch, I didn't really have much of an argument there.
Fair point. Fair enough.
Yep.
All right, Mikey. Little birdie chirped in my ear that you might have met up with somebody named Tommy McGunner. Who is this person? What news of him do you bring?
It was either Tommy or a hologram Tommy. I wasn't positive. We didn't make physical contact, but he seems to be doing quite well. I saw him out in San Francisco last night for dinner. He's really good. He's tan. He looks lean. I think he's playing a lot. So things are good in Tommy's world. I did get to see his apartment though, and he is one of the, I don't know if you knew this about Tommy, and I certainly didn't until last night, but he only watches TV with the red light glasses on. He's got a bunch of he takes care of his body in a really freakish way that I did not know about. So yeah, that was interesting.
I guess I can see it, but yeah, I never would have guessed that.
I've had late night tactical sessions with him and talking about USL or just MLS, and I FaceTime him, and he's got he just took the glasses off or has put it. Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah, the red light glasses I had no idea about.
All these years, I'd never had known that. All right, let's move to Premier League before we start. 2 things. Number one, the Tottenham game ended 30 seconds ago. Tottenham Leeds. We will get into that obviously momentarily. I'm a little worked up. I don't know if I'm happy. I don't know. Well, I know I'm not happy, but I don't know if I'm totally dejected or if sort of somewhere in the middle after that performance and draw. But anyway, we'll get into that in a moment. But if you see my heart sort of beating over here, that's what's going on. Number 2, get in the Patreon. Sam's Army Patreon, $3.99 a month. Best money you will ever spend. It's a great little converse. Anytime you're just sitting on the couch, you're thinking, I wonder what, or I wish I had a friend that I was talking to while the game was going on right now. Just get in the Patreon, get in the Discord, and we got a constant conversation going with, just a ton of similarly sicko-minded soccer fans. Great little community. So get in the Sam's Army Patreon to get access to that. And for the live streams like this and whatever else. Mikey's open Mikey night, not the name. Everything that comes with Patreon. Get in there right now. All right. Premier League time. Obviously, I was going to start with the Arsenal game. Tyler, let's go with you first. Where do you want to start? Top or bottom of the table?
I'd like to start at the top of the table, please.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't really think that there's much of a game to talk about. I mean, there was a game, but as we know, it gets boiled down to one call, to one play, to one moment, or 5 minutes worth of a moment. I was not watching the game, or I didn't watch past the 45th minute live. So I was catching up with everything, and I almost liked it better that way rather than getting wrapped up in the moment. And then I went back and was looking at it and was losing my mind in the group chat and had to watch it 3 more times. And Mikey was getting upset with me because of my takes, and I was starting to get really upset. And it was a Sunday, and I was having a really nice day with my in-laws, and then I wasn't. And then I watched it 4 more times, and I saw 4 more fouls. And I just have a really difficult time with VAR as a whole, and I'll zoom out for a second here. And I've gotten to the point, I think, where I'd rather just get rid of it, and I'm just done with the whole thing as an experiment, which is what it's been for the past 10 years, if we're going to be completely honest. Because the whole point of this is to make sure that we're getting calls right and to get clear and obvious errors correct. For the most part, that's going to be balls that go over the line. We don't need VAR for that. We have goal line technology, and it's just a buzzer to watch, and fair enough. And then there are some other like really blatantly missed calls. Even today in the Leeds Spurs game, I could have been okay with that being a penalty one way or the other, because whether or not there was contact was so minuscule and marginal. And if you had come away from that as a Spurs or a Leeds fan, whether you were hard done or not, and if there wasn't VAR, you probably could have came away from it and said, well, it was so close and it's impossible to make that call in real time. And we're just losing the joy and the organic nature of the game at its bare minimum as a neutral watching this game. And my allegiances and my rooting interests are well documented. I do not want Arsenal to win the title. If you're anybody outside of the Arsenal supporters group, you don't want them to win the title. With that in mind, I just can't help but look at that play and look at the 17 other thousand Arsenal corners this year and say, well, how can you differentiate that being a foul versus something else being a foul? And why is the foul on Raya a foul and the foul on the 4 other West Ham players not a foul? And yes, him grabbing onto his other shoulder across his body is in fact a foul. I am not dumb enough to ignore that. I was for about 30 seconds, and then Mikey sent like another clip, and I was able to watch it 4 more times, and then I finally saw what he was talking about. But there was a former referee that came out and said they usually look for the first foul in a play to determine whether or not there was a foul. That was not the first foul. And if that is the case, and you're VAR, then why are you determining that one to be the foul? So I just have a really difficult time with a title and or relegation spots being determined by a 5-minute review of something that is not clear and obvious. I'm okay with a 5-minute review if you're 100% going to change a call and make sure that it is like definitively something. But we all know that those don't exist, because the easiest VAR checks and the ones that take 30 seconds, those are the ones that are clear and obvious, because you don't need 1,700 frames to be able to figure it out. And it just really bothers me that crowd pop, that moment for West Ham, is taken away because we have to now look at everything under a microscope and a frame by frame. And for again, the 900th time this season, Arsenal's engaged in a set piece, whether defending or not, in something that looks more like Karate Kid than it does a soccer match. And I'm sorry, if you're going to live by the sword, you're going to die by the sword. And I don't feel like that's justice for what else we've seen and what else Arsenal, as well as a lot of other teams in the Premier League, have gotten away with. Brentford have certainly got away with their fair share of shithousery on their long throw-ins this year as well, as have other teams, and Leeds are part of that list and whatever. So I have a really difficult time that could have been an epic moment for West Ham, and it should have been, and for their fans, and it gets ripped away for something that is not a definitive, clear reversal of a call that needed to be, in order for like the neutral supporters to sort of be like, wow, that's like Maradona's hand of God. That's what we need to make sure that we're turning stuff over for, not for whatever that bullshit was.
The one that comes to mind, and it was sort of right before VAR, it was Thierry Henry's handball that kept Ireland out of the World Cup. But Mikey, I don't know. Respond to that. Where is your head at here? You just don't give a fuck what he says?
I don't think Tyler cares about the West Ham supporters as much as he cares about me not being happy. I just want to make that clear.
I think it's fair.
I see a comment here from Fred in the Discord. I think the idea that it shouldn't take that long to review something if it's clear and obvious is lost with the stakes this high. I think they wanted to make sure they got it right. I think they did get it right. I think it is a foul. I know it's a foul. It's Raya's first to the ball. He's got his hand on it, and he catches that ball unless he's pulled down. It's just a foul. I understand the significance of the moment for West Ham, and I understand the heartbreak that must be associated with that. but I do think that they got it right. And that, I'm saying that just complete calmly. Like, I don't think that there's a lot of debate in my head internally about whether or not we got bailed out in the moment. I think it was a foul.
But hold on a second. Is there a case to be made? Okay, so let's say the goal didn't go in. Okay, is there a case to be made that Pablo is fouled on? Like, let's say the ball didn't go over the line. Was Pablo fouled on the play?
No.
I don't think Pablo. Somebody else. Declan Rice was tackling somebody behind
Who got
keeper.
Literally bear hugged and pushed out of the way.
I don't know who it was,
right
but
next
Declan Rice was tackling somebody right behind the goal.
Mikey, was there another foul on the play before the one on Raya?
No, I think the only foul that really mattered there was that the keeper was winning the ball and he got fouled.
But here's where I have an issue. That it's because it's the keeper that it's the only one that is being deemed a foul. There's other fouls on that play on Arsenal in the penalty area. If you're Mikey, I'm okay with you saying that the one on Raya is a foul, but you have to in good conscience tell me that there were other fouls on that play that Arsenal were committing.
I don't think there was a penalty in the 95th minute of a title decider on any of the fouls going on, both ways.
Whoa, but why? But hold on a second. You can't have it both ways. You can't say that there's a goal reversing call and a foul on Raya, but there's not a penalty. There's not enough contact on any of those plays that Arsenal players were engaging with that could have or should have been called a penalty. You cannot have that both ways.
I think players on players is much different than players on keepers.
Why?
I think the precedent PGMOL has set is that players, Bernardo Silva 3 days ago tackles a guy in the box. They looked at that and there was nothing wrong with it. So, like, if it's player on player, I think there's a totally different set of rules than a player pulling a goalkeeper's arm down. I just think that's how it works with PGMOL. I think that's their precedent.
But there's nothing in IFAB that says that. There's no subsection.
That's just the way they've been practicing it all year.
I don't think that that's 100% true. There have been fouls called on central defenders or defenders in general defending a set piece. Somebody's trying to cut in front of them and they wrap two hands around them. There have been fouls called. More times than not, it's let go, but there have been fouls called. So you can't change it just because it's the 95th minute and it's the attacking team as opposed to the defending team. I
don't think player on player is the same rules. I just don't.
What is it? Does there have to be blood in order for there to be a foul on a player on a set piece?
No, I mean, Saliba slightly grazed heads with João Pedro last year, and that was called. Today, the penalty that Tottenham were given isn't necessarily the most vicious thing in the world, but, like, those are dangerous plays. They're different. I don't see a world in which anything Arsenal were doing in that minute warranted a penalty. I don't. If Raya catches that ball, it's just over.
But let me paint you a mildly different situation. If the corner had a little bit more juice on it and Raya cannot get a hand to it, and whoever was behind him who was getting literally two hands around, like it's a rugby play. It's an American football play.
What's different between that and Bernardo Silva's reviewed non-penalty 3 days ago?
I'm not saying that I'm not saying that there is. I'm looking at this one in a vacuum, and, like, I'm just saying that if you're going to say that Raya was not allowed to make an attempt on the ball, if the ball had been lofted over a little bit higher and the player, I forget who it was literally being shoved out of the way with two hands and they weren't allowed to make an attempt on the ball, would you have wanted that to be called a foul?
I mean, would I have wanted it to be called a foul?
Would you have seen the reason in it being called a foul? For the same reasons that you're saying that
I've never looked at it as if Raya wasn't catching that ball. I'm just watching the ball and where it's going. That's the only way I've looked at that play. I think it's a foul on Raya, and I think they got it right. I do
agree that it's a foul on Raya. There's no other foul on the play, though. I think that was some of the most aggressive and egregious defending on a set piece that could have potentially warranted a foul than we've seen all year. Maybe outside of the Bernardo Silva one that you're talking about. I think it was the most amount of contact.
It was a mess. Certainly was a mess. There were 20 bodies in there.
If it was not your team and we didn't live in this world, you would have 100% been okay with the fact, let the boys play and let them sort it out like men on the last.
Yeah, you should let the boys play on the last play of the game. You just can't pull the goalkeeper's arm down.
That's not letting the boys play.
That's not the same thing at all.
You're only looking at the contact on Raya. You're really starting to piss me off.
The foul? I'm only looking at the foul?
Sam, please go look at the video and please tell me exactly who was the one that was being ushered with two hands in a bear hug motion, like the two of them were getting to know each other on OnlyFans. And that's not a shout at Mitch. And I'm just saying that I don't understand how you can look at that and not think that that's a foul.
I truly don't think it matters because Raya catches that ball and it's on.
And you know something, Fred? I'm not having any of that because I've said 15 times since we've started this podcast that it is a foul on Raya, but you cannot tell me that there's no other fouls on that play. You cannot.
I'm watching right now. So I think it was Mavropanos that was getting tackled. And he was,
Yeah,
like, if you
he's a
look at
saint.
it, like, here, I'll put it right up to the screen and see if I can.
Oh, this is good.
Yeah, that's not going to work with the
Really high quality with Sam's Wi-Fi too. This is going to go really well.
All right, fuck it. Listen, we're not going to square the circle. You guys, you both make good points, and you know it just what sort of bums me out as a Tottenham fan and just really annoys me is that so many of these calls have all gone Arsenal's way this season. It's just
cry.
It's just
Are you
tough.
kidding me?
It's
Cry.
It's tough. Listen, there's so much other stuff going on from this game. So the Ben White's injury completely changed everything. Arteta's subs, like Zubimende,
Then got it right.
Okay, so you basically he corrected his error is what you're saying.
He got out of his own jail there.
And then Odegaard, who's obviously not had
brilliant.
He had a great play there. Yeah, it's just. I think the one thing I'll leave it with Mikel Arteta, for all the things that I hate about him, his goal celebrations are the stupidest fucking thing I've ever seen. Like somebody who is allegedly athletic.
This is a new take. I haven't seen this. This is doing you no favors.
Can I just point out that I was giving relatively unbiased commentary on the whole thing, and then Sam goes, "Everything has gone Arsenal's way. Fuck Mikel Arteta, and I hate the way that he celebrates goals." And he becomes a celebration police.
I think I was pretty. Yeah, I think I hit all the high notes there. I hit all the points I wanted to get out. You guys already had your unbiased conversation. Well, unbiased. You had your intellectual conversation. I just wanted to get my thoughts out there. Yeah. Well, it's very fitting, I guess, in a big picture sense that this season, which Arsenal might end up being champions of the league, comes down to the play of the season. Really was a VAR call on a foul in the box on a corner kick, and it just sort of encompasses everything we've been sort of complaining about. But at the same time, listen, Arsenal do it well. They're shithousery, tomfoolery, whatever nonsense whatever you want to call it. They do it, and they do it without crossing the line. Which Pablo's arm, that was crossing the line. It was just too obvious. Arsenal is they're a little more nuanced with their cheating. Let's go to the bottom of the table because there's not much to talk about from Man City other than Doku, who is quietly having a hell of a run lately. Let's go to the bottom of the table where West Ham obviously feel pretty hard done by coming off of this controversial loss to Arsenal. We were having all sorts of mixed emotion conversations in the Discord, and by we I mean the Tottenham fans there. Because, going into the game, we're like, listen, we just need West Ham to lose. We're in a spot where we have to do that. And then I convinced myself in about the 75th minute, you know what? 0-0 draw, I can live with that. That's not so bad. Maybe we'll just go beat Leeds and then, Arsenal won't win the title and we won't get relegated. It's best of both worlds. Right about the time I decided that would be okay was the time, you guys, Arsenal scored. And then I got on board with that again. And then then West Ham scored. And I was like, okay, all right, I'm back. I'm back on the draw train. And then, of course, that got pulled back. It was such a weird mix of emotions for Tottenham fans. And I know that there was a lot of talk on the Discord about whether Tottenham fans who were sort of like rooting for Arsenal to win, whether they're like, bad people, or if you're rooting for West Ham to win, whether you're bad people. I don't know. I don't have a real take on that. I just really wanted whatever happened. I was going to be unhappy because I'm just in an unhappy frame of mind. So I'm just unhappy about that. Now, the Tottenham game. I mean, fuck's sake, this team is just so frustrating. Like, I guess Tell is a perfect example of what this team is all about. Like, he hits an absolute banger, gorgeous goal. Sort of vindicating what all the people who were shitting on Thomas Frank for months and months and months have been saying. You just had to play this guy. How are you so stupid? And then he turns around and makes one of not one of, two of the most boneheaded plays I have ever seen. The first being the cross. He was going back towards his own goal and was passing the ball or clearing the ball. I don't know what he was thinking. He basically did a perfect cross across our own 18, which Leeds almost put in. And then about, 40 minutes later, he does a bicycle kick clearance, an attempted bicycle kick clearance in the box, and gives away a penalty. I don't think we really have to disagree, or we will disagree on that being a foul. I think it was a foul. Like in my moment, my heat of the moment, I was like, maybe he didn't kick him. Maybe it was a, sort of whatever. He didn't kick him in the head. Ampadu did not get kicked in the head, but he got kicked in the shoulder. If you get kicked in the shoulder, it's a fucking foul. So I don't disagree with the call, but the decision is obviously terrible. This team, like, we should have put the game away. We didn't. I'm happy we got a point. Obviously, it's not nothing. We're up 2 points on West Ham, so if they get some lucky draw in their last two games, they can't catch up with us. So that's yay. But I don't know, it's just more of the same from this Tottenham team, and it's frustrating, disappointing, sad. And now I'm done. Tyler, take it away.
What do you want me to say about your team?
We stink. No, we
it's comical. It's just, you guys are so blatantly just a good team who is just absolute dog shit right now. And when I say that, I mean a talented group of players, but struggling to make 90 minutes worth of good decisions. You guys are legitimately incapable of doing that. And that's how teams get relegated when you're in this type of form and when you're doing this. But there were so many moments throughout that game where I just was like, first of all, Leeds is not, some Champions League bound team. They just barely are going to escape. Yet on the road at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, which has been a theme this year, right? Like, they just look like the better side, and they look like the team that was trying to go for it and the team that was trying to put the impetus on it. I know Spurs had their moments and Leeds didn't create a ton, but there just were too many moments where I just felt it was really passive from Spurs. You could tell that they're trying and the effort is there, but it's just the quality and it's just, yeah, you guys just look stuck mentally. James Maddison coming on was a nice boost and that was fun, but
yeah, that was a nice little sort of emotional boost. And if he had gotten that penalty at the end, what a fairy tale story that would have been. I am fine with that not being a penalty, by the way. It did look like he got just the smallest amount of ball. My initial reaction was just why couldn't he not have gotten the ball? It was like a centimeter. It's a centimeter difference, and we would have gotten a penalty. And, that's just the story of the season. So I might as well just get used to it at this point. I had another thought, but everything's gone. Mikey, any thoughts on Tottenham or that Leeds game?
I thought you were better throughout the match, and I think you should be pretty disappointed to not have won that. I honestly believe that your performance was good. One thing I'll say is the center back pairing that you had was very, very good today. I thought Van de Ven and Danso worked really mature and played well together. Kolo Muani is just being wildly misused. You just don't have any wing play at the moment on the right side. Tell can't play out there. De Zerbi tried him there to start his managerial campaign, but it won't work. That's a huge problem because Porro doesn't like to play that wide. He likes to tuck inside, and I think he's a brilliant player. So I think you need somebody to free him up and play wide. Much the same way Greenwood did for De Zerbi's Marseille. Leeds, credit to them. They could and should have been on the beach. They secured safety with West Ham's failure to bring a point against Arsenal. So credit to them for showing up and trying to be party spoilers. I think they did not duck out of a single tackle, and that's Daniel Farke's team in a nutshell. But I thought you were the better side, and I still think you're safe. I've been saying this for months. I do want to say one criticism, in that the stadium deflated at 70 on the equalizer. It was pretty embarrassing.
I said it in the Discord. I understood, or I saw it too, and you could just felt like you're in or they're playing this in a library. But this is a fan base that has just been absolutely beaten down for this entire season.
Still got to show up.
I agree. I mean, I agree that the fans deserve a little bit of stick for just going silent. But at the same time, I completely understand where their heads were at. We've been through this fucking movie over and over and over again, and it sucks. But yeah, I think it's a fair criticism. One more piece of criticism: Richarlison. Holy shit, he was fucking.
That was one of the worst performances I've seen from a player in a long time.
I love him. I love the thought of him. But like, I love how he hustles his ass off. But man, if you're gonna do performances like this, like, wow, we just can't have that, especially in a game of this magnitude and in a situation where he had so many chances to have put that game away and he just couldn't do it. That was frustrating. I still love him, but man, that was unfortunate. All right. I think we do have to round out this segment by giving Tyler a chance to go off on Slot.
Sticking by their guy.
It's been a while. You guys, this week, this week's Liverpool result 1-1 against Chelsea. This is a Chelsea team that, has been historically bad for the last month or two. I don't know if I've been following closely enough to say this, but it did feel like that there was some sort of turn, a shift in the fan base during that game. Because the way they got on Slot about the Njimoa sub, which at the end of the day turned out to be an injury, allegedly. It really seemed like, that's it. Like they are done with Slot, and FSG might bring him back next season, but it feels like we've done this before with Brendan Rodgers, where they tried to bring him back as well, and it just did not work. So I don't know, where are you at, Tyler?
I was in an Irish pub in Barcelona, 2 different nights, watching both of the Champions League games, one's watching Liverpool Manchester United, and then the other one watching Arsenal Atleti. And I was watching the Arsenal Atleti Atleti game with a Liverpudlian who was there on holiday with his wife, and he and I just started talking, and he's a massive Liverpool supporter, and so obviously he and I got along, and our wives were just sort of like chatting away, and he and I originally kind of disagreed on this whole thing about Slot and whether or not he should be brought back, and we eventually landed in a spot, and he was the one who really was pushing for this, and I think I reached the point after the Chelsea game, which is he at least for the time being has, to a certain extent, sucked the soul away out of this team, and I think that some of that has to do with injuries. I think that some of it has to do with Diogo Jota, but I also think it's the way that he wants to play. And this team has become, to a certain degree, unrecognizable to the fans, and I think that that's why they got on him, and they're going to jump on him any opportunity they get, even if it is a Rio and Gamoa situation. And it's just weird that such knowledgeable and passionate and usually unflappable fans will not take that opportunity to do that and be reactive and be emotional in a negative way. Yet they took the opportunity to boo him. Sure, he was one of the best players on the field, created the Gravenberch goal and the whole thing. But I think most people have reached a breaking point with this whole project, which it still is, even about to be 2 years in, even though we did win the title. So I just have a difficult time recognizing Liverpool when I watch them now. And I do think that part of that is circumstances beyond Arne Slot's control. But I also think that he's at fault for this. And this being a year where they're going to sneak into Champions League, ravaged by injuries, typically you'd be okay with that. And most teams would be fine with that. Now it's a matter of whether FSG think that this is a blip, and this is sort of like, we just need Isak to get a full preseason. We need to get healthy. Maybe we need to buy a new left back. Maybe we need to buy a new right back and spend a little bit more money and get this team to a place where they need to be, and maybe sell Gakpo or whatever. Or this is a systemic issue and the players don't necessarily buy what Arne Slot is selling right now. If I'm FSG, I'm probably trying to get a sense, maybe from the kit man and maybe from people around the team, and trying to see what the players actually think of him. Because I think that that's going to be the ultimate telltale sign of whether or not Arne's the guy moving forward. Because I still have a really difficult time figuring out whether or not this is a blip or this is going to be an issue heading into next year.
it's hard to like look at this whole situation with Slot and just look at it in a vacuum. Like, do you think the fact that Xabi Alonso is sitting there unemployed has an impact on the fan base or your sort of perception of what's going on here?
No, I don't, because I don't understand how you can so badly want a guy and potentially move away from a manager who won you a Premier League title. I can't get behind that, because it's always a bit like, and it's usually, if you're going to fire somebody, it's like, all right, well, who are you going to hire? And that's where Chelsea got it wrong, right? Sure, you might be upset with Enzo Maresca and the way that he's been talking to Manchester City, and the fact that he's upset with the way that you run your club, but you never had a replacement in mind that wasn't a fucking clown like Liam Rosenior is. For Liverpool, sure, if you think that you can bring in Xabi Alonso, like, that's a decent idea, but is an unknown entity in the Premier League from a coaching standpoint, and somebody who had a really nice run with Bayer Leverkusen, like a generational run with a club that wasn't supposed to win the Bundesliga and almost won the treble and went undefeated. Is that a good idea? Sure. But is it better than somebody who's already been at the club for 2 years, has helped you grind through this has been a pretty tumultuous season from an injury and from an emotional standpoint. And if he's able to guide you through that and still qualify for Champions League, I think that that's a success. And call me crazy, and sure, the results and the performances have not been there, but like, qualifying for Champions League in a year where like Curtis Jones is consistently starting at right back, Dominic Szoboszlai is consistently starting at right back, Jeremy Frimpong is playing on the right wing, Mo Salah's been injured and has dropped off an absolute cliff, and Rio Ngamo is 17 years old and he's the best player on the field. If he's able to get you to Champions League, that's a win. So he's won, in air quotes, twice. He's won the Premier League in his first season. You can call it Slot's team all you want. And then he's guided you through some really, really treacherous waters and made sure that you qualified for Champions League. I don't know how, if you're FSG in your right mind and you don't want to be Chelsea and you don't want to be United and run through this musical this musical chairs of managers, how in your right mind you can say, fuck this guy who's got us to Champions League and won a Premier League title. Let's bring in Xabi Alonso, who's never coached in this league before. That doesn't make sense to me.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. I think I know Dalton disagrees, and some other people in Discord. But yeah, I mean, there's a strong argument to be made in that direction. Yeah, the only other talking point I had from the Premier League quickly is Bournemouth, 16 games unbeaten at this point. Wow. I mean, it's been.
Any idea who they have next?
Who do they have next? They have City, right?
I know.
That's right. You did know that. Of course you knew that. Yeah, all the rest of the games, I mean, there is still tough. People are playing for things like, obviously, the European spots, which I saw an article, there might be as many as 9 Premier League teams playing in Europe next season. I think that would probably take some serious weird results, but that's too many. That's nuts. Yeah, we'll leave it there, though. We'll hit the FPL quickly so Mike can get his weekly pat on the back and self-esteem boost if my internet works here. So Sam's Army Council Elders, you're still up top by 200 points, quite a lot. I had a good week, actually, 72 points. I'm up to second now, up ahead of Mitch in third, Tyler's in fourth, which may or may not be last place. We still got to decide on that.
I don't know if that still stands. If it's not Sam in that,
of course not. Of course not.
I'm actually with you, Tyler. I think it should be Tommy.
Insurrectionists back down. All right. Well, that's the headline there. I'm actually fine with that. I was good with that the whole way. In the Discord Sickos League, you still are up top, Mikey, by 42 points. Matthew Perry's in second, Dave K in third, Jamie Fryer in fourth, Caleb Whitehead is in fifth. And then the Podcast Wide League, Luke McCulloch has been up top for, months at this point. Mike Evans in second, Ryan Nolan in third, Jonathan Cohen moves into fourth, and Pat Howe is in fifth. Now, all these cups are going on. I feel like it might be too many of them going on. We'll get into, especially the Discord or the Podcast Wide League eventually. I think I won my round of, I don't even know, quarterfinal. It was in the quarterfinal of Discord's Cup, so yay me. But we'll leave it there for now. Quickly, the games coming up this weekend, more than half of them have a hell of a lot of important implications tied to them. So City, before we even get to the weekend, City has their game in hand. They play they welcome Palace to the Etihad on Wednesday. So that's the one game in midweek. Now the weekend, Villa hosts Liverpool, arguably the least important of all these. Newcastle hosts West Ham. Arsenal hosts Burnley. Chelsea hosts Spurs. Oh boy. And Bournemouth hosts City. I mean, first of all, I'm the biggest Newcastle fan on the planet. Always been a big fan of Saudi Arabia. Just go sell as much oil, as you can, and maybe buying an extra player or two for this game if you could. I really hope they win that game because I have zero faith in Tottenham going to Stamford Bridge this weekend, or on Tuesday technically. But we never play well there. They always beat us, so it just makes sense that they would stick a knife in us this time. Any other thoughts on those games, Mikey?
No, I think we're good. I'm going to handle this week at a time. I don't need to look ahead. I mean, I don't need
if
to
you
focus.
could get a team, Burnley at home is, got to be pretty high on the list at this point.
Sure.
And then Villa hosting Liverpool. That'll be interesting. Obviously, Liverpool. I don't think you guys are locked in Champions League. Villa is obviously pretty focused on Europa League. So who knows where people's heads are going to be at on that one. Now, I'm going to skip halftime because I know Tyler's got a hard out. So we're going to go quickly to Round the World, where we will hit the MLS extra spicy hit it and quit it minute with the Minuteman himself, Tyler, who's got several weeks of angst and whatever else built up. So hit us with what you got.
So we're going to start in Toronto, where Inter Miami continue to win on the road but cannot win at their new home. This guy, Guillermo Hoyos, who is in charge of this Miami club, I mean, my goodness, just taking quotes straight out of Liam Rosinier's playbook on LinkedIn and basically just babbling pure nonsense. But the nonsense lies with Toronto FC because they're just ravaged by injuries right now, and a decent team and that had a decent start is struggling. Inter Miami 4, Toronto FC 2. Moving to the Windy City, where Greg Berhalter and the Chicago Fire got a little bit of a problem over the past couple of weeks. It started with that bottled loss against St. Louis City in U.S. Open Cup. Of course, it's a diminished U.S. Open Cup if we're going to be realistic with ourselves. But Red Bulls storm into Soldier Field and come away with a 3-1 win. Amedi with an incredible performance in the middle of the field, and the kids just keep on balling for Michael Bradley. A big win for the Red Bulls, who have been struggling as of late. Meanwhile, CF Montreal, don't look now, but I think they've won 5 out of their last 6 in all competitions, including the Canadian Cup. The team that everybody was taking a steaming hot dump all over as soon as they fired their coach, which everybody could have seen coming. Heading into this season, they've won like 4 games now. They do this a lot. It's right when they start to get some home games, and it's right, the weather starts to get a little bit nicer. They'll fall off a cliff again, and we'll be right back to square one in like 2 or 3 months. I promise you. They win it by a score of 2-0 over an Orlando City team that probably should be in the USL starting next year. New England Revolution 2, Philadelphia 1. Philadelphia is winning this game. New England come back. Foxborough apparently is a fortress now, and the Revs might be legit. They might be legit. I'm not there yet, but they might be. Speaking of not legit, Atlanta United, LA Galaxy, 2 teams who have been well off the mark in 2026. But LA Galaxy pull out the win. Gabriel Peck with a big goal. And it's LA Galaxy 2, Atlanta United 1. More problems for the Five Stripes. Atlanta just not a soccer town over the past couple of months. A couple of losses during the U.S. men's national team window, and Atlanta United are just trash. They are at this point in time. Meanwhile, Dean Smith welcomed FC Cincinnati in a battle of the Queen Cities. Why they're both called the Queen City, I have no idea. And who really cares? Is it that big of a deal? No, probably not. And they split the points 2 apiece, 2 goals apiece. By the way, Evander with just an absolutely disgusting goal in this game. Really just, he's on a different level when he's on the ball, and he gets just an iota of time and space. 2-2 is the final score. Cincy got some problems. Charlotte's got some problems, but they're both playoff teams, and they'll both be there at the end of the season. FC Dallas 3, Real Salt Lake 1. Don't look now, but Eric Quill and FC Dallas are up to something special. Sam Sarver has now scored in back-to-back games coming off the bench, and they're getting it done, despite the fact that their stadium is being renovated a la Fulham a few years back at the Craven Cottage. Meanwhile, Nashville draws DC United. Bad result for Nashville. Sam Surridge has been hurt. They're dealing with some injuries across the board. Patrick Yazbek got hurt. He's a doubt for the Socceroos at the start of the World Cup now, which as is Eddie Tagseth. So this is a group that went from potentially being able to win CONCACAF Champions Cup to drawing with DC United. Oh, how the mighty have fallen. Colorado 0, St. Louis City 1. Red cards on both sides of the ball. Sangbin Jong gets the lone goal, and St. Louis City get a big win. And they're starting to slowly but surely turn things around. The return of Edu Leuven coming back from basically what is bereavement, following the loss of his wife. Getting match fit, I think him back in the locker room has been really big for them. Meanwhile, Sporting Kansas City on a generationally tough start. Chicago Fire fans, stop me if you've heard this before, but Rafa Wiki is having a tough go of it right now. Portland 6, Sporting Kansas City 0. Sporting Kansas City are on pace to shatter the worst defensive record in Major League Soccer history, which was right before Bruce Arena got to San Jose. That DC United 2013 team was historically bad. Sporting Kansas City are challenging that. And when I say challenging, I really do mean it. And by the way, this is a Portland team that have struggled as of late. This is not some Portland team that has been world beaters. So Sporting Kansas City, figure your shit out because nobody wants to watch that. Seattle won, San Diego won. Seattle been struggling here and there. San Diego, they're in a really weird form, but Mikey Barris says on no uncertain terms that Chucky Lozano is going to be allowed back anywhere near the first team dressing room. So do with that what you will. Battle at the top of the Western Conference, San Jose won, Vancouver won. San Jose cooled off just mildly. Vancouver gets a big result on the road against San Jose. And then we had 3 games on Sunday. NYCFC 3, Columbus 0. Crew continued to struggle. Then Minnesota welcoming Austin. James Rodriguez, better late than never, getting a first goal contribution. He had 2 of them. He had 2 assists on the day, including a nice little give and go with Joaquin Pereira. It finishes all square at my old home at Allianz Stadium, not the one in Munich. And then LAFC won, Houston Dynamo 4. LAFC on a tough little stretch. This happens sometimes right after CONCACAF Champions Cup. Just a little bit CCC blues. But tell you what, Jack McGlynn with an absolute banger in this game, drawn one all the way across his body and across the face of goal. And Ben Olsen and company get the job done on the road at BMO. So that would do it for, I don't keep track of the weeks in Major League Soccer anymore because I don't work for them. So why should I keep track? So anyway, there you have it. And we're just a couple of games away from the break that teams are going to be taking for the World Cup, which is this small tournament that's happening this summer.
Yes. Well done, sir. All those weeks flow together at the end of the day. Anyway, couple news and notes. The Revs, they do look legit, and Matt Turner, by the way, is having a hell of a season with them. I really like there being more games on Sunday. I hope they do that. Spread out these games a little bit so we can get there's sort of more action, especially on Sundays in the spring when there's not much going on. All right, let's head to stoppage time, where, of course, we start where we always start, with Ivan Toney's best bets. So the Overtrain, not a great week last week, not bad. Coming off of a really bad week. 2 weeks ago I was really bad, and then last week I was 4 for 5, I think. Last week was 2 for 5, but since we're going over 3.5s, I kept the losses to a minimum. But we're getting back on this horse. Feel good about these picks. I dug a little deeper this week because I love you a little extra, and I also feel as though I owe you after not going 3 or more out of 5 last week. So we're going to go Wednesday through Sunday, Overtrain, 5 aside. These are all going over 3.5. Let's get some goals. Wednesday, we're going to MLS, where the aforementioned CF Montreal is hosting Portland, and that is absolutely going over, probably over 7.5. Thursday, we're going to the Swedish Cup, where Mjällby is hosting Hammarby. Friday, we're going to the Danish second division, where B93, great team name, B93 is hosting AAB Aalborg. Saturday, we're going to the Polish second division, where Stal Rzeszów, I definitely nailed that pronunciation, by the way, Rzeszów is hosting Wisła Krakow, also nailed that. Sunday, we are going to the Bundesliga 2, where Greuther Fürth is hosting Fortuna Düsseldorf. And those are all going over 3.5. Let's go make some monies. Now, Mikey, you want to take it next?
Absolutely. It's Wednesday. It's Manchester City's match. It's Nico O'Reilly, 2 shots on target. It's plus 500. He hasn't had one in the last 2 matches, but he had 3 in the match before that. He's been getting forward a lot. He has Munoz on his side for Palace, who likes to push forward, so there'll be space behind. And O'Reilly has something to prove. I think the left back position is pretty much his for England at the World Cup, but he needs to finish strong these last 3 matches for City, and I think he does. So O'Reilly, 2 shots on target, plus 500.
Fair enough. And that reminds me, I think that I have not won my Discord Cup game because my opponent has O'Reilly.
There's plenty of matches.
There is. Well, there's still a midweek match with City and Palace.
Plenty of players, yeah.
And by the way, while we're on the Premier League, real quick to tie a bow on that, Silent Ryan in the Discord live stream pointed out that City play Bournemouth 3 days after the FA Cup final. So another reason that God
I'm
loves
not
Arsenal.
getting my hopes up.
God loves Arsenal. And I don't know if
I'll give you another one, by the way.
Oh, okay.
Ludovic Ajorc for Brest is going to score against Strasbourg on Wednesday. Just want everyone to know that.
Perfect.
And he's probably going to score with his head.
The most random pick of all time, of course. You're pretty good with those. I'll give you a little credit there. I don't know if Tyler's still with us or he had to jet.
No.
I'm assuming he's gone. So we were going to go on and finish up strong with everybody's favorite segment, especially Mikey. GOAWs. I got several good ones, but I don't want to take yours. So if you got one, why don't you go first?
I just want to give a shout out to the Man City fans who claimed that they didn't find the guy drinking the bottle of Arsenal tears funny and thought it was childish. I'm seeing a lot of people now being like, we never thought that was funny. We always thought that was corny. And I find that quite revisionist history. I also, now that Tyler's not here, I have the balls to say it. All of you are my GOA this week. For some reason, preferring Manchester City over Arsenal in this is pathetic and embarrassing and bad for the sport. And I think you guys are, the amount of backlash and the amount of anti-Arsenal stuff, even the posts where it's like, everyone's a fan of PSG in the final. PSG? Now we like PSG and Man City over Arsenal? This is disgusting. And honestly, you should all be embarrassed.
Don't you think that's a testament to just how fucking annoying the Arsenal fan base is?
I haven't done anything to deserve this, Sam.
There are a few good apples. I'm not even going to say there's a few bad. There's a lot of, the whole fucking tree is bad apples. There's some good apples though, especially everybody in the Discord. I'm not talking about you guys. Everybody else though, fucking worst. It is a funny phenomenon though. It is a very funny phenomenon how there is a very strong anti-Arsenal vibes pretty much everywhere. Listen, it was kind of the same way with Tottenham. Kind of the same way with Tottenham and everybody being like, they're going down and we can't wait, to see you guys in the championship.
You didn't hear that from me once this year.
I saw it in your eyes. All right, GOAWs time. I got a couple honorable mentions. I got to give a shout out to Southampton. If you're not cheating, you're not trying. They apparently sent a very obvious spy to Middlesbrough's training facility before the first leg of the semifinal in the championship playoff. And the dude was found out within like 15 seconds and ran away, changed his clothes. I don't know the whole story, but like, number one, I've said this all along, and I know that people disagree with me. Spying is so stupid in soccer. The risks that you're taking of something like this happening are absolutely not worth the very minuscule benefit that you're going to get from whatever it is you think you're going to get. So shout out to Southampton for absolute cocking that one up. Also, Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang, Mikey's guy, was reportedly the ringleader.
Oh my God, this story is unbelievable.
It's of course it's Aubameyang too, but he was reportedly the ringleader of a late night, midweek party among teammates last week. What they were actually doing, I have no idea. But apparently there's a guy on the Marseille coaching staff who was in charge of, basically making people abide by curfew. So he came down and tell everybody, all right, we got to break this up, blah, blah, blah. Apparently Aubameyang did the logical thing and grabbed a fire extinguisher and just completely the opposite of torched him with a fire extinguisher on all his stuff.
Nice
and
one.
So it just made a lot of sense. The guy in his mid-30s pulling that. He was suspended for the Le Havre match. They actually won, so I guess they kept their hopes of European spot alive. But if you're kind of like a team leader and you're pulling that's just a tough look. Daisen Maeda, the
what
forward
a goal
for
this
Celtic.
season.
Holy shit. I mean, you got to put the goal in context. So it's not just an Old Firm derby, which is one of the greatest rivalries around. But it's an Old Firm rivalry in a season where, for the first time in 40 years, a team not from the Old Firm, meaning Rangers and Celtic, might actually win the league. First time in 40 years. And so they're playing this on this weekend. And Maeda he scored the second goal to go up 2-1. And then a minute later, just not just a bike, right? It was one of these like kind of creative genius ones where he wasn't even looking at the goal. He didn't know where it was, although he did in his mind. And then just the ball popped up. He popped it up and just did like kind of like a chip bicycle kick over the goalie, who just like stood there and just watched it go. It was an incredible goal. The videotapes of it and certain angles are incredible with the Celtic limbs in the background, and the context is important. So this basically Rangers they're out of the title race. It's down to Celtic and Hearts. And as I said, this would be the first time that a team not named Celtic or Rangers have won the Scottish Premiership in 40 years, if Hearts can pull this off. And by the way, they've got 2 games left. There's a midweek game, and then Celtic welcome Hearts to Celtic Park on, I think it's Sunday, for the final game. And there's 1 point between them right now. It's an incredible story. And if you're not following along with the Scottish soccer, you really should. And that's why. I'm going to give my GOAWs to Slavia Prague fans, though. So they were up 3-2 in a game that they could have clinched the Czech League title. So they were within a few minutes of the title race being over, them, basically lifting the trophy at home. But instead of waiting for the final whistle, like 100 of these Slavia Prague ultras en masse just ran onto the pitch, across the pitch, bringing whatever it is they had to throw, a lot of flares, a lot of other stuff, and basically, assaulted the visiting Sparta Prague. Obviously, it's a big rivalry fan base in their little corner of the stadium. Just an incredible move to be like, we're not going to, you could just wait 2 minutes and then go do all this, tomfoolery, criminality, whatever it is. Just wait 2 minutes. But instead, they had to do it in the 92nd minute instead of after the final whistle. So they basically abandoned the game. So Slavia Prague may have to forfeit the game, in which case the title race is back on. So they were going to be up 11. And I think that mathematically would have had them being the champs. Now, if they get docked 3 points, or if Sparta Prague get those 3 points, it's a 5-point race with 3 games to go, which is just mind-boggling. They also assaulted a player on Sparta Prague, which is beyond the pale. So GOAWs can be good, they can be bad. This one, obviously, you can make up your mind on which one it is. Just an absolutely brain dead move. I guess I should give Tell a go as well, because he really fits the bill with that absolute banger, and then two of the stupidest moves I've ever seen. But hopefully he makes up for it next weekend. Anyway, Tyler, Mikey, you guys are the best. Everybody in the Discord chat, we love you deeply. And if you're not in the Discord chat, get in there by getting in the Sam's Arne Patreon, $29.99 a month. Do it right now. Shout out Peaches. It's good to have you back. We will be back bigger, better, maybe faster, stronger next week. We'll see.